Lord of the Flies trial, circa 2013, 8B. All rise. The Honorable Judge Alec is in the courtroom.
Be seated. Okay. So the rules of this courtroom will be, rule number 1, you may only angrily remark someone with my permission. Rule number 2, you may only speak if you have the conch in your hands, meaning the witnesses. Don't argue with the judge. The judge has his own decisions. If you do not like that, take it out on your other consultants. Rule number 4, you may object at any time. However, you must wait for my sign to proceed after you have objected. Try to be calm at all possible times, otherwise you may be removed from the courtroom. Prosecution team, you may come forward to make your opening argument.
Witnesses, judge, jury. We have gathered here today to prove that the two defendants, Jack for second-degree murder and Roger for third-degree murder, are guilty for killing 2 innocent kids. Kids. They were only kids. What, 10, 11 years old? Imagine what they could have become. Their lives were just at the beginning, and then ending like this is just not fair. What if you have a kid, maybe your 10-year-old sister? Imagine them being murdered without a legitimate reason. Both defendants, Jack and Roger, have shown no sympathy towards any of the boys during the whole book. They only showed anger and aggression. From well-mannered British boys who could have achieved a lot, were and still are savages. During the murder of Simon, our witness Ralph even admits to it being a murder and not an accident. Exact quote being, "That was murder," on page 156. And may I give evidence of this? The defendant Jack didn't show any care towards the death of Simon. He was heartless, ruthless, and uncivilized. After stabbing him once, the boys would have realized that it was Simon who they were killing. The moonlight, the lightning, and the fire would have given them enough time to see Simon's face. If this, Your Honor, does this look like a beast to you? Because all I see is an innocent young boy. When they started attacking, you see this frightened young boy. Imagine this being your son. How would you feel if he was this frightened? If he was in Simon's position, you would want to arrest this young man. In fact, Jack had no interest in the fact it was Simon. He still hadn't had the energy to go out hunting the very next day, even though he had killed one of their dear friends the day before. And the exact quote being, tomorrow, went on the chief, we shall hunt again. And here is the proof, if I may be clear. That is how much they didn't care, and how much they really wanted him dead. The next defendant, Roger, well, it is obvious to me that he is guilty for third-degree murder. Here is a picture of poor little Piggy lying dead on the ground with his head open. It would all come back to the lever which was located under the rock which Roger leaned on, which caused the boulder flying down. They say it was an accident, that he didn't want to kill Piggy, and that he had no intentions of sending the boulder flying down. However, it is clearly stated on page 159 of Lord of the Flies that Roger knew that if he leaned on a lever, the lever would send the rock falling down the castle wall. And the exact quote is, a log had been jammed under the topmost rock and another lever under that. Robert leaned lightly on the lever and the rock groaned. A full effort would send the rock thundering down to the neck of land. Roger admired. If the defendant Roger had no intentions of killing Piggy, then why did he lean on the lever when it specifically states that he knew it would come down and kill Piggy instantly? After all, Roger showed absolutely nothing but hatred towards that poor little innocent soul, Piggy. It also states that a full effort would send the rock falling down. So just leaning on the lever would not send it down towards Piggy. Jack and Roger might be children, but they're also murderers. Please, make them pay for the crimes they have committed. Thank you.
Now, the defending team, you may now make your opening remarks to the court.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I will be presenting to you evidence which demonstrates that my clients, Roger and Jack, are not guilty of murder by reason of temporary insanity. Starting with Roger, first as it states on page 180, chapter 11, Roger, with a sense of delirious abandonment, leaned all his weight on the lever. As the prosecution would probably say that he has done this on purpose, we believe that this was accidental. Using the resource, the Free Online Dictionary, delirious can mean hallucinating. So because of the lack of sleep or nutrients, Roger could have been dizzy and leaned on the lever. The disease of the mind that Roger has suffered from is malnutrition, as some general symptoms are fatigue, dizziness, and weight loss. But why do they suffer from malnutrition? Malnutrition is caused by several present causes, such as starvation, lack of single vitamin, or unbalanced diet. Dehydration is also a factor, as the boys have a lack of clean water. Dehydration having the strongest, quickest dilapidating effect on the human mind. Second, on page 175, chapter 11, it states, Roger took his hand off the lever and leaned out to see what was going on. This shows us that, yes, Roger was holding the lever, but it was only as protection in case of something were to happen. Third, it is a diminished capacity, as by the lack of food, water, killing, and the blood of the pig, Roger is not thinking straight, and he's starting to lose the proper way of thinking. He's not thinking, oh, I'm standing on a cliff, or be careful, there's a boat over there. No, he has an unstable mind, and he's not thinking the way he should be. Whereas, because of the lack of nutrition, sleep, etc., Roger's not thinking of his surroundings or other people. Third, on page 62, chapter 4, it states, Roger stopped, picked up the stone, aimed, and threw it at Henry. Threw it to miss. This shows us that Roger will hurt people's feelings, but he will not hurt them physically. Now, using this information, we can state that malnutrition led to the accidental cause of Piggy's death. Weight loss was already apparent in the boys, and dizziness fatigue is already clear in the ex-leader Ralph. As it says on page 76, he lost himself in a maze of thoughts that were rendered vague by the lack of words to express them. Frowning, he tried again. As Roger suffers from this, he has not permitted the murder, nor was it a conscious act of killing. As Piggy's death was the killing of a human being with an excuse, this case is not a murder. The island has no rules, and all deaths are on a lawless island that is not owned by any government. There are no rules saying that the murder on the island is against the law. Going on to our next defendant, Jack. First, like Roger, because of the lack of nutrition, food, water, sleep, it has caused Jack to go insane, in a way that he has mental conditions of being violent. But as it is in the human nature of boys, most will likely to be destructive physically. Killing of the pig is where Jack's insanity is coming from, as we can compare it to daily lives today. We have found an online article about a 15-year-old boy from New Mexico who has killed his parents and his 3 younger siblings. What has brought him to do such a terrible thing was violent video games. Playing a game of killing people every day will eventually get into your mind for a need to kill something. This is what Jack has done with his need to kill pigs. Sadly, this fact about the 15-year-old boy from New Mexico is not applicable to the trial. However, going further with the mental torment of murder might be something to focus on. Some evidence of Jack going crazy about killing a pig is on page 69. I cut the pig's throat, said Jack proudly, and yet he twitched as he said it. Another example to show that Jack and Roger are not the only ones going insane is on page 76. It shows that Ralph, a witness, has an unstable mind and cannot think straight. He lost himself in a maze of thoughts that were rendered vague by the lack of words to express them. Frowning, he tried again. This could have been also happening to Jack, but as it was not described. Everyone is hallucinating and is unstable mentally on the island. Second, in chapter 11, when Simon is killed, as shown on page 151, it is very dark and hard to see. Between the flashes of lightning, the air was dark and terrible, and the boys followed him clamorously. Third, to why Jack did not kill Simon is on page 152. It shows that all the boys have taken part in the kill as they chant and hold up weapons. The hunters took their spears, the cooks took spits, and the rest clubs of firewood. Fourth, neither Jack or Roger were the ones to point out Simon. It was actually a little one who noticed the beast. It clearly states on page 152, the little one screamed and blundered about, fleeing from the edge of the forest, and one of them broke the ring of big guns in his terror. Him! At the same time, none of the boys realized that it was Simon because of the lightning, darkness, and rain. Fourth, on page 157, the conversation between Ralph and Piggy proves that they were also a part of killing Simon. Don't let us on, we was in that dance, not to Sam and Eric, then Ralph said. But we were, all of us. Lastly, on page 152 and 153, as the scene describes the killing of Simon, some words are plural, showing that there are more than two people killing Simon. On page 152, the sticks fell, and the mouth of the new circle crunched and screamed. On page 153, at once the crowd surged after it, poured down the rock, and leapt onto the beast. And lastly, again on page 153, there were no words and no movements, but the tearing of teeth and claws. Upon all hearing all evidence put before you by the prosecution and defense, you will find that the prosecution will be unable to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that my clients are guilty of murder in the second and third degree. Thank you.